Hey folks, it's Ben. I'm here with our 1993 Chevy Lumina APV. This is actually version 2 of the video. It's shot after I shot the first version. What I was hoping to get away with, kind of cheating death if you will, was I actually wanted to recharge the air conditioning system so that it would blow cold again. That was under the guise that the system was fairly operable on its own and that it didn't need to be evacuated or anything along those lines. But the long story short of it is, it's further gone than that, so we can't get away with it. But this can still be a handy video for you because it's going to tell you some basics as to what's going on here. Now, if you want to, go to your local parts store and pick yourself up a recharge kit. And that usually contains a gauge like this and maybe a can or two of refrigerant. Now, this is straight up refrigerant. Often there'll be one of these and then maybe a can of sealant or, you know, like Fix-A-Flat kind of type stuff. Now in radiators and stuff, that's bad juice, don't do that. But in air conditioning systems, I've read lots of bad things about it on the internet, but it's hard not to believe the can that it would help fix a pinhole leak if you had one. But how they work and how it's specific to our van here is in case you've never used one, you take your coolant here, right? And you have your assembly. And at this point in time, this little valve right here, you notice there's a pin right there that's hiding. So we actually have it backed up all the way. And then if we turn it to tighten it, what'll happen is that pin will actually come out and pierce our can. So this would have a foil over the hole that you see there. And you turn this in all the way and it actually, I'm going the wrong way with it anyway. If I turn it the whole way, with this turned in all the way, you see how short the stem is, but it's got this needle here that actually pokes the can. So how we actually connect it is we back this all the way off. So make sure it's all the way back so the pin is recessed into the coupling that you see here. And then you screw your can on. So it's safe. We take our can. It'd be nice if I could actually shoot this from afar. You take your can of refrigerant and then thread it onto the nozzle here. It would stop running away. And with two hands, it's much easier to do it than one. So you make it and you tighten it so it's nice and secure. And now at this point, sit tight. On your Lumina van, you've got two ports to connect to. There's a high pressure side that's right down there and a low pressure side that's right over here. And I've got the cap set that's over here. How do you know which one's which? Well, that's a much bigger plug than this one is. And your recharge kit won't connect to the high pressure side. Why is it high pressure? It's on the discharge side of the compressor on the motor that's down here. So that's how you can tell. So in the event that you just wanted to say, hopefully save your system, put some coolant in it, as you come in here and you push this down and you push it down really tight. So it's got a nice, and it locks on. So there you go. And at that point in time, if you have anything in your system, you'll see it show up on the gauge. Now the blue area is the good area. And the red area is there's way too much pressure in the system. So hopefully you're down around 10 or 20. By being down around 10 or 20, that means that there is pressure in the system and that air isn't contaminated anything. If it's down to 0, well, at that point, we might start getting air in the system, and that's typically not a good deal to have. So if you have a little bit of pressure, perfect. What you do is you then turn this valve and have all the way down to close. So you keep going clockwise all the way down so that needle punctures the can. And so we keep going until it punctures the can. And I'm just gonna go through the motions here because I've already done this once. So once you puncture the can, it actually closes, the can is still closed to the system. Then you're gonna actually run the can inverted and open it up. And what you're going to see is that the system will start to fill. The can will get freezing cold and you'll see the pressures come up as the system gets full. You should also see your compressor start to cycle if it isn't already cycling. And you'll eventually get into this blue area here and you'll be able to tell, run the AC obviously on the interior of the car and run it on high, not max. You don't need max. You just need to have the air conditioner on, turn the fan on high. And use this can to essentially drain in coolant until it's about where it needs to be in the blue here, about between 30 and 50 pounds. I would shy towards the 50 just because that's how I roll. Once you're done there, close the valve and lift this off and you're good to go again. Put your cap on. And if your system's okie dokie, and this applies to most cars from 1993 up, according to my literature, this is an R12 car, but on my thing here it says use only R134A refrigerant. So, and that's a factory sticker, so it wasn't even modified. It came from the factory with R134A. R12 is a different beast. It's going to have different connectors. Your kit won't work with it, and you'll have to actually do something else with that. But in this case here, it is a R134 system, and that's how you would actually recharge the vehicle. Now I'm going to get into how we're going to do the pre-test with a temperature gauge and get ready for that. I'll show you a little bit of the vehicle running while we've actually got it connected. What's happening is we're actually getting the system to pressurize, but as soon as we stop putting coolant, or I should say refrigerant, in the system, it would just go back down to zero. And there's a little bit of an odor in this, and I could smell it. So honestly, I think it's coming out of the front core here. Is that the evaporator? I think that's the evaporator or the condenser. One of those two. Anyway, I think it has a leak. Probably a rock hit has punctured something. I talk about a leak kit in the video, so we'll just roll to that. But that's the quick and dirty of it. But I think in the video I might mention, I didn't know if it's up or down. Actually, it is like this. I confirm that for sure. And so hopefully you can do it with one can, but always get two, because sometimes it might take quite a bit to get that pressure up, depending on how big the system is. I don't know if this van has rear air conditioning or not. Part of this video was to figure that out, hopefully, but I don't know yet. So we're gonna have to do a little bit more work on that. That's why this is part one of I don't know how many yet, because we'll now have to dig through and find out where is the leak. It's gonna be up here for sure. But I gotta get a different manifold kit. So this is great for charging systems, but if you're actually gonna be doing things like pulling vacuum and testing pressures and things like that, there's actually a double gauge, and it connects to both ports, and you kind of hang it up on the thing there, and you can see exactly what's going on with the system. Probably gonna have to invest into one of those, because this one is, I believe it's probably even air contaminated, meaning it's got moisture in it and things like that. So we're gonna have to do a full evac once we get it repaired, if we can even find parts for it. So that's the other battle we're fighting here. So I'm already 7 minutes into this awesomeness, so let's get to the video. I also do some diagnostic work on the valves to figure out how does the back work. I didn't know how that did, and let's go ahead and keep trucking. Hey folks, it's Ben. If you're a Starship captain like me, re-entry can be a problem if your air conditioner's not working great, or if the air temperature happens to be warmer than you'd like it to be. Here's my 1993 Chevy Lumina APV, and the issue we're having today is that the AC is not as cold as I would like it to be. Matter of fact, it's not cold at all. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a variety of liquids and see if we can introduce them into the air conditioning system to maybe bring it back. Unfortunately, I don't know the prior history of this vehicle, so I don't know how long the AC system's been dead. Maybe it just needs to be topped off. Maybe it needs to be completely rebuilt. I don't know. So that's what we're going to do today. We're also going to do a little exploratory work with the rear ducting system. If we can get it to blow cold air, which would be cool, let's see what we can do out back too, because this unit has a rear fan, and there's at least a heater core back there for sure. But there's some other, can it blow cold air too? We'll have to find out. So let's go ahead and fire it up and get some temperatures going, and see what we can do to maybe make this thing blow cold again. So we're in the spaceship right now, and if we take a carpet reading, we're at about 110 degrees on the old carpet floor right there, as we have our temperature sensor / cat toy. So let's go ahead and shoot it at the vent here. So internally to the vent, we're talking about 117 degrees Fahrenheit of air coming out of this thing. So not very cool. In fact, I'm going to turn it up all the way. I'll give it just a second here, but hopefully we'll be able to measure this, and then when we put the AC in the system. So if we go ahead and check that again, still fall asleep on me. Yeah, if we're shooting it down the vent, we're about 114. Not really cool or comfortable. I mean, it's moving air for sure. But let's go ahead to the back, and I'm going to set it over here to rear control. And that way we can play with it back there. And let's get a temperature reading back there too. So in the back of the spaceship, we actually have a fan control button here on the driver's side, and you can control, I can feel the breeze coming off those three over there, but we can go low, medium, and high. Actually, there's a blower motor back here. It feels like it draws from this vent here. Now I know this can discharge heat if it's needed, But most of the air comes through these vents up here and over here. So you've got two movable ones here. In fact, let's use these back one here for our temperature example. Now right now we are on the center vents up front, and so we're running these vents back here. If I take my temperature meter, we're running about 105 degrees back here. And our floor temperature is about 100, so it would be actually cooler to hang out on the floor than it would be for the vent. Now of course the air channel for these is going through the warm side of the vehicle, right? So it's going to be a little bit warmer, but I'm wondering if we charge the AC system and we can get cold air up there, if we could also get cold air back here. We also have these three vents up here, and they're also about 104 degrees. And I saw there's a small amount of heat coming through here, and yeah, it's about 110 on the floor there. But the heater core is right behind it. The heater core is there, and then I think that's just heat discharge. So that's our baseline. Let's go under the hood and see what we can do about this. Well, unfortunately, we took the entire can. The fan's running because she's hot. It took the entire can. We were running a little bit of pressure for a little while, then it died. Unfortunately, I think I can smell it. So obviously, we might have a leak that's so bad that it's not going to work, obviously, with a can of coolant. But we're going to keep trying anyway, because that's what we're here for. So if your system was close to working, you'd be showing a vacuum side of the compressor in the blue right now. Red would be way too much pressure. So at this point in time, we've got nothing. So currently the compressor isn't cycling and nothing's happening, and we're still very warm in the compartment. What I'm going to do now though is see if I can introduce, here's an oil can. It's a little bit of lubricant just to make sure my compressor isn't running dry. The idea is to put the coolant in, oil, and then the other can in, and I'm going to still do that, but we'll see if this actually helps with anything. So we have unfortunately dumped 2 cans of refrigerant in our system and a little bit of oil, and outside of picking up a little bit of a weird scent, we've gotten it to move up a little bit, but it goes right back down and it starts to smell. So I'm guessing we have a fairly substantial leak somewhere in the system, which is exactly why we're not getting the awesome that we wanted. So unfortunately, I can't just put some refrigerant in it and have it work again. I'm actually going to need to do some mechanical repair. Unfortunately, our evaporator condenser, I forget which one, the front one, might have a hole in it. It's subject to rockets and such. There is a method we can find out where it's damaged, but the long story short of it is it's damaged. Is with this guy right here. I'm actually going to save this for my Grand Prix because it has an unknown leak as well. I can put coolant in my Grand Prix, and for about 2 days you have air conditioning, and then it fades away. So it's a much smaller leak than this one. It's AC leak detection dye. It's kind of an infrared color, and what you can actually do is you put it in there, and then you hit the underneath of your car or the air conditioning components of your car with a UV light, and it'll shine out as to where the problem is. So I'm not going to use that today, but if this worked, then we'd be comparing how nice and cold it is. It's still blowing really hot though. So we're not going anywhere with that, and we're not testing out the back yet. But yeah, our can's completely empty, so I'm just going to pop that off. Sets this over here, unfortunately. And if you guys have any questions, not all videos are wins. We try to make them that way, but unfortunately it doesn't always happen. Further exploring in regards to the vent system, I know that we are currently on, with the fan system being set up on uppers, these are also set up on uppers. And as soon as I hit floor here, which is right there, I'll get These fans will turn off. And they did. And these will turn off. We still get defrost air now. And we're getting all this heat crap. Apparently heater air. Yeah, it's only 166 degrees through that. So clearly the system's set up for floor air is hot air and upper air is cool air, because it's technically still set for cold up front there. But yeah, we're at 140, 60 degrees down here. So that's not cool if it's sweltering hot. What if we go to bi-level? Boink. So we get some hot air that's always going to be hot, I think. So in the wintertime, that's cool. Not so hot. And now we're getting air back up here again, and it feels cool. And it's cooler. It's coming down. It's at 120. What are we doing out front here? Yeah, we're at about 120 right now. We're sucking in that hot engine air too, right? It's only about 80 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So. And then I guess, so we have, oh no, the heat turned completely off down here. There's no wind at all. So that just sits that. So bi-level kicks it right up to the top guys again. And the defrosters are off. There's one there and one there for the windows. Same over here. I feel like I'm getting greased on by these up here. So those shut down and the tops go on bi-level, so there's zero ground. And then if we go upper, I must do nothing back here because that was already off. And these are still on. So that's interesting. Only floor heat works back here when it's only on floor. So the question is, what if we go to defrost, which turns the AC off? Right back to floor again. And these are off. So you can run the defroster on high and it puts heat to the windshield and to the rear components, but we're right back at it. That's hot again, jeez. We're right back up to 160 again in here. So the defroster runs heat back here and the heater runs heat back here, but anything above that doesn't. So I should be able to press this button, which kicks heat to the floor and the defrost vents. And we're still down here, and we're still up here. So really the question I have is does this air get air conditioned or not? Do I have rear air conditioning, or does it all have to come from here and this just recirculates air around? I guess that's the bigger question. I don't think, oh man. Yeah, it's getting air from somewhere else too. So I gotta vacuum that up now. Whoops. I got a sucker back there for some reason. Anyway, so now I guess that kind of answers that. So that's hot. So let's go back to upper. So bi-level or upper, anything that runs the center vents is gonna run these guys and shut this one down. So it's an either or scenario. It either runs or it doesn't. So that's good to know. I'll put that on low and you can control that right up there. I have it set to rear control, but I can also operate it as the captain of the ship to do that. And the air conditioner turns itself back on, even though it's not very hot. It's not even functional. So that's good to know. And it's still about 120 degrees coming out of the vents. So anyway, now we'll wrap up the video. So if you have any questions, she's doing a great job in keeping herself right where she needs to be. Temperature-wise. So that's exciting. And I'm just going to end the video, guys. Fire comments if you want to, and we will catch you next time.